Good morning, everyone. On behalf of IACC Tamil Nadu branch, I have great pleasure in welcoming all of you for this session. It's a very interesting session on newer technologies. As you all know that when it was mentioned by Chris that Indian Prime Minister and the President, signed an agreement called the Trust Initiative. The Trust Initiative has, of course, multiple technologies mentioned in that. From IICC, we have chosen 3 topics which are quite relevant to growth for India. And we have, experts here who will be talking about those 3 topics. We have 3 speakers on AI, 1 on quantum, and 2 on semiconductors. The Trust Initiative, it's really transforming relationship, utilizing strategic technologies. I think whether we have done lots or not, we have a lot of acronyms coined anyway. So this is a bilateral effort in strengthening cooperation in critical and emerging technologies like defense, AI, semiconductors, quantum, biotech, energy, and space. The idea is for India and the U.S. to collaborate in these chosen areas and strengthen the capabilities in both the places. Key elements of this agreement are strategic technical cooperation, trusted and resilient supply chains, and that would be a good thing for India, technology transfers and commerce, private sector engagement, specific focus areas and recovery of critical minerals. Now in changing geopolitical situation, this becomes an extremely important area. Space cooperation, I think the minister talked a lot about that as well. Financial support, regulatory alignment. This is another, like the minister mentioned, a long-term regulatory situation in Tamil Nadu is a big advantage. It's also an advantage to have a relationship between India and the U.S. and alignment on regulatory issues. Based on this encouraging initiative, we thought of organizing this session which will provide insight into some of the key areas which are part of the Trust Initiative like quantum, AI/ML, and semicon. The government is keen to invest and develop these areas and make India a leading player in these technology areas. Our speakers will talk about the developments in these areas and touch upon how we can leverage the developments in the U.S. to leap forward. So you have a fantastic panel here. So the structure, the way the session is structured is that each one of them will speak for 8 minutes, then we'll have a Q&A session. May I now invite Professor Anil Prabhakar to speak on quantum technology, please. Thank you.
I give many talks, but I'm always with slides. Today I've decided to do it without slides, right? So we're going to understand what quantum technology is about without using slides. And that's always a challenge, but the easiest way to think about it for me has always been musical instruments, right? If you can think of a musical instrument, when you pluck a guitar string, if you are not a good musician, if you're like me, you just pluck the guitar string and it gives you all kinds of tones, right? Now, if each of those different tones could be used to do a computation, then suddenly you have a new kind of a computer. And that's what we are designing as quantum computers, right? I say we are designing as quantum computers, but the US, in particular IBM, Google, and a host of other startups have actually commercialized some of them. And just, I think, earlier this week, there was an announcement where the Andhra government is going to put up one of these quantum computers in Amravati. Where is Tamil Nadu? Why is Tamil Nadu not there? Right? And I think that becomes an important question to us. Why are governments interested in this quantum computer? For many reasons. It was very nice to see the CEO of Aditya Birla Materials. Why? Because we design new materials on quantum computers. Right? It's very nice to see the L&T power transmission out here, right? Because the same quantum computer that can be used to design new materials can also be used to bring down transmission systems, power systems. Right? It can be used to destroy our digital IT infrastructure because our passwords become vulnerable. So there are two parts to quantum technologies. One is quantum computing, which mostly can do good, but it can also be used to destroy our digital infrastructure by someone who has a quantum computer. The second part of quantum technologies is quantum communications, which protects us against adversaries who might have a quantum computer. Right? So I'll give you a few examples. Just this morning, I got a message saying that someone has used a quantum computer to discover a new drug. Imagine that, a new drug on a quantum computer. You don't have to spend 7 years designing, going through experiments. You can do that on a quantum computer. Right? So the industries need to be ahead of this game, because just the way AI is changing the software industry, the quantum computing is going to change, the drug industry is going to change, the materials industry. It's also going to, unfortunately, change the cryptography or the digital infrastructure industry. So, there is a second way of using quantum technologies, and that is quantum communications. I see this because I was sitting in the audience and they said, there is a defense infrastructure corridor coming between Salem and Coimbatore. Okay, that's in Tamil Nadu. Where is quantum communications? Quantum communications has the power to save us from adversaries who try to crack our passwords. Right? I often ask this, when was the last time that people changed their password? If it is someone like me, it is like, I don't know, 6-10 years ago. Right? Because I want someone to crack my password and do all my work for me. But nobody's ever doing that. However, there could be vital information that you don't want leaking out, and that has to be secured. Tamil Nadu is on the forefront of this, very interestingly, which you may not know. We have been running a quantum communication network in Chennai for the last 7 months. Okay. And we have now been invested with the responsibility of connecting Chennai to Bangalore on a quantum communication link. And that is entirely Tamil Nadu right up until you hit Electronic City, Hosur, right? So it's Tamil Nadu, it's happening. And if you say Salem, Coimbatore, I just have to go down from, halfway between Chennai and Coimbatore, I have to, Chennai and Bangalore, and I have to go down to Salem and Coimbatore. I can do this. It doesn't end there. We have also been invested in protecting digital infrastructure between Bangalore and Delhi from Tamil Nadu, from Chennai, right? So we are at the forefront of these quantum technologies. There are 4 hubs under the National Quantum Mission. One is IIT Madras, where I am a faculty, right? We lead the quantum communications hub. There's one at IISc Bangalore, there's one at IIT Bombay, and there's one at IIT Delhi, right? And these 4 verticals work together, collaborate together to be able to look at quantum computing, quantum communications, quantum sensing, and quantum materials, right? To that extent, I would argue that industry have to be players. I have the good fortune of having been at IIT Madras, where we have a very rich ecosystem of entrepreneurship. We have incubated the country's first quantum communication companies. We have incubated the first photonic quantum computing companies. And the list of companies that are interested in working with us continues to grow. What are probably missing are many of the industrialists who are sitting here, right? And I would encourage everyone to actually start working with this, because you may feel that it is not true today, but it is very imminent. And as you can see, the investments have started coming in. We find that we are at the cusp of a new revolution. And for those of us who are still disbelievers, I would like to say that if you wanted to go to the moon, right, you can't build faster cars. You have to build a rocket ship. If you want to solve problems that are insolvable on today's computers, you need a quantum computer, right? And what are those problems? The first problem that comes to my mind always is Bangalore traffic. It cannot be solved even with a quantum computer. But there are easier problems, like problems of drug discovery, problems of logistics. We have a port in Chennai. How do you schedule ships? How do you fill cargo containers with goods? That's a 3D bin packing problem that is solved on a quantum computer, right? How do you sort of give the route for Swiggy and Zomato, right? Blink it, 10 minutes. Can you do that? I mean, those are challenges that are solved on a quantum computer today, right? So it is time for industry to definitely pick it up. We are talking to industry in the U.S. As I said, IBM is bringing its quantum computer to India. But at the same time, we are also talking to a lot of startups. There are quantum communication networks being built in the U.S. The Chicago Quantum Exchange is one of them. And I was at Chicago recently talking to them. So there's a lot of buzz that is already there in the academic and research community that needs to get translated to industry. I see there's a table from guidance here. There is a workshop that is being held, I think, in mid-July on quantum technologies in Tamil Nadu. So if you are interested in sort of participating in that, please reach out to Guidance Tamil Nadu, and I think they'll connect you to us. Right? Thank you very much.
And how we can leverage the developments in the U.S. globally.
Good morning, everyone, or should I say good afternoon. Thank you for being here, and thanks to IACC and Shamil and Mr. Ramchandran for inviting me to present here or talk to you today. I am responsible for the India businesses for a U.S. advanced materials and specialty chemicals company that is largely in the electronic materials space, but we also have other businesses in industrial materials and energy. Just a quick summary of what we do. We make materials anywhere where an electron goes, from semiconductor, back end of line semiconductor fab, to packaging, to IC substrate and PCB fabrication, printed circuit board fabrication, PCB assembly, and final assembly, including films and smart solutions. We make all of those products for every layer or link in the electronics value chain globally, and we have operations in about 50 countries, including India. We've been manufacturing in India for 94 years now. Of course, we started off as a smelting materials company earlier on, and got into electronics in the last few decades. And we've helped really build the electronics industry in India. Okay. I would like to speak really about ecosystem building in India, because where we are in the development of the electronics industry in India is, we started with final assembly, then moved into board assembly, and now we're getting into packaging and semiconductor fab in particular, and several other spaces surrounding that. But I thought I'd start with just describing what does our ecosystem actually look like. And you can describe our ecosystem by saying that, we have the human environment everywhere you go, whether it be your home, this building, for example, your automobile, the healthcare facilities, etc. They're all part of an overall ecosystem. In terms of electronics themselves, you can actually describe it in terms of both energy flows and information flows. And all of the electronics, hardware and software, a lot of it actually falls in these two categories. And by looking at it in terms of flow of information and flow of energy, you can actually encompass the multitude of applications that fit into this framework. Underlying all of that is the network, communications network, and underlying that is the physical value chain that is in place to manufacture everything from chips to packages to PCBs, assembly and final assembly. So I call it level 0 to 5 infrastructure. On the right-hand side of this chart, you'll see a bunch of technologies, be it RF, optical, thermal, electronic and electrical, protective and energy conversion. I sort of categorized it this way because these are the core technology platforms on the basis of which the entire industry is built, largely, right? And when it comes to the Indian context, to truly localize, you've got to be able to localize these technology platforms and all its subsystems, systems that are used to manufacture the complex integrated systems that are put together using these platforms. And for that, you need to build a technology and operations infrastructure to power that entire localization. So getting one layer deeper than that, you can build the ecosystem by really looking at each node in the value chain. You've got semiconductor fab, your packaging, your board assembly, and final assembly. These are the main 4 nodes in the value chain. The key elements of the ecosystem are people, materials, components, and equipment. That's the physical inputs into the system. And then you've got the key activities, that is design, modeling and simulation, manufacturing process development, and then testing and reliability. These 8 elements are really the key to building a truly robust ecosystem. So anything we do here should really encompass these 8 elements, I would say. Packaging, which is now emerging, is very critical and crucial in every sense of the word, because the focus and criticality is now moving from fab into the packaging end, which is, the packaging itself, semiconductor packaging becomes the critical fulcrum on the basis of which the entire industry is now moving forward and scaling in a significant way, be it AI or other key applications of consequence. The way we end up building this is really, I think it was mentioned earlier by both Minister Raja and Consul General Hodges, that you have to build a collaboration between industry, academia, and government. And those collaborations are what will truly help build this ecosystem in a localized way. You can't localize everything, but you can at least localize the expertise and then the infrastructure to the extent possible. So what are the key, who are the key stakeholders in doing this? I know that there was a discussion earlier on MSMEs and how critical MSMEs are. I mean, that's why I put that right in the middle of the whole chart, because in effect, you've got all these different elements, all these different stakeholders, be it large industries, multinationals, domestic, large companies and medium-sized companies, government agencies, universities, large and small, NGOs, etc. But at the end of the day, you've got to be able to, when we build the ecosystem, we should have the thought process that says that we have to grow take any entity, you've got to be able to grow at 10x compared to what it is today. And if you really truly want to build the ecosystem here, that should be the goal. And the way to do that is to have a coordinated way of building a roadmap saying this is the collective vision of where this needs to go, and this is the role that is played by each of the stakeholders in actually making that happen. I know this is a little conceptual, but maybe a longer conversation I can describe how this can actually get done. And we're starting to do that in many ways. So with that, I'll stop and be happy to answer any questions a little later. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. May I now invite Mr. Aditya to speak on semiconductors here.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is a privilege to speak to you today, primarily for two reasons. I have been equally fortunate to have witnessed the development trajectory of Tamil Nadu because I worked with the Tamil Nadu guidance for 2 years. And that has been glad to witness the ecosystem stack where industrial depth, talent, and infrastructure, along with the robust engine that chases investors, not from a guidance perspective, but also the Honorable Minister who keeps chasing investors for opportunities in Tamil Nadu. So that has been a great experience for me. To go back to the pathway to a $500 billion trade, it is definitely bold. But given that Tamil Nadu has a deep industrial DNA, accounts for 44% of India's electronics exports, and a highly productive workforce, the vision is firmly within reach. What I've also seen at Guidance when I've visited a lot of factories is that, and when I was in Invest India and I've interacted with a lot of states, I understood that building 1 or 2 factories is not success, but the right way to do this is to stay resilient and build that competitive ecosystem, and that's how you thrive. But today we are at an inflection point because where global supply chains are seeking resilience, there is a collaboration between India and US that is propelling the electronics and semiconductor industry today. Globally, we might be about $650 billion, but by 2030, it'll become a $1 trillion economy, and India would be poised to get about 10% of that, approximately about 110 billion. So that opportunity for India and partnering with the US is of substantial importance today. But if you look at what has been unprecedented in the last 2 to 3 years, what we've seen Apple, we've seen Applied Materials, we've seen Micron, we've seen Cisco, we've seen Lam Research and AMD committing billions to India's ecosystem, not just as an experiment, but from a strategic imperative perspective. But what this leaves us is also important because the next 2 to 3 years or next 2 to 4 years are also important because these investments by these companies is a testimony on how far we've reached there. So we also have to ground these investments. While these investments are capital intensive, there's long gestation period, deeper issues also need to be addressed. One is the uncertainty of materials, IP production, and there's always a high risk perception that India is not established compared to the other hubs in East Asia. And that's why here it's not just capacity, but trust and resilience that is essential to build the entire true end-to-end semiconductor hub. Not just these companies that have actually put investments in India, but there's also a strong US and India government-to-government collaboration which is kind of dealing this. I will give you a little viewpoints on what that is. For instance, the US CHIPS Act, which is also allocating funds for international partnerships. Then there's the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, which explicitly identifies semiconductors and critical minerals as areas of cooperation. There's also a supply chain council that's co-chaired by India and the US. There's also an initiative on critical and emerging technologies like semiconductors and 5G, telecom, AI, quantum computing, space and defense. There's also an MOU on semiconductor supply chain and innovation where the US CHIPS Act and the India Semiconductor Mission will work together and collaborate. One of the things that has happened is that there's a global company called Global Foundries that have set up a research R&D center in India focusing on gallium nitride technology. This research center could further propel linkages into chip manufacturing, and this is where we could probably go. There's an opportunity for US definitely to build the stack, to go from fabs, PCBs, and process innovation. Even if we were to decide to not avoid direct competition in over-subsidized chip segments, we can target value-accretive niches like power semiconductors, automotive chips, and design services, where Tamil Nadu has a historic leverage and advantage in this. In the medium term, there's a lot of opportunity in PCB substrates and specialty passives. PCB, for example, where 80% is still imported, and we have a 20-22% cost arbitrage with respect to other countries. This could be a good opportunity to set up. And tomorrow, when there's the whole AI boom, where a lot of AI chips keep coming here in our data centers, there's a local hardware assembly opportunity that kind of keeps opening up. While India produces engineers at scale, one of the important things that we also need to understand is that very few institutions offer fab-ready skill sets, and I'm sure guidance is looking at a future of workforce labs where they're thinking of seeing more participation in high-value R&D making and chip ownership. India must also prioritize deep skilling partnerships. For example, Lam Research in India, they have a model that they train 60,000 engineers. It could be replicated across different states, and US OEMs and Indian institutes can co-own them. Tamil Nadu is a forerunner in electronics, accounting for 44% of India's electronic exports. Houses over 100 electronics companies with supply chains stretching across 300 to 350. And I think the convergence of EV semiconductors gives Tamil Nadu a unique opportunity to get into power electronics, power semiconductors, and auto electronics, and I think that could be a good opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Aditya. I think semiconductor industry in India, while it is just starting, I think hopefully it'll be a real booming industry soon, because we are talking about investments of the order of 150 or 200,000 crores within the next 3 years. So it's an industry which has a huge opportunity for everyone. I think, as Ravi said, how do you build an ecosystem? And I think the cell phone assembly, we have found that we are probably 10-15% value addition. I think in semiconductors, I think government is working with the industry to see that that is not repeated, but we will have ecosystem built up. I think there people like Ravi can contribute a lot, because they're already into materials which are required in that area. I think it's an exciting opportunity for the industry to tap in terms of your diversification and things like that. We'll talk about it a bit later. Now we are moving into the session on artificial intelligence, and may I request Geeta to open up. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. After those very energetic and exciting speeches in the run-up to the session, so let's talk about AI. Before I dive into the topic, I just want to take a minute to talk about what KBR stands for. So KBR is short form for Kellogg Brown & Root Engineering and Construction Company, and it's headquartered in the US. So we have two large businesses. One of that is called Mission Technology Solutions, which deals with NASA, Department of Transportation, Department of Aviation, wherein we use cutting-edge technologies to do simulation in space, analytics, program management, and the like. But the other part, Sustainable Technology Solutions, which is where India really comes into being at the moment, is to do with all the sustainable process technology solutions, ranging from ammonia to petrochemical to providing a range of technology solutions to our clients, as well as engineering and consulting services in the oil and gas space. And we've also consciously moved from the fossil fuel-based energy sources to the greener energy sources. So now let's talk about AI. How many of you think that you use AI in your everyday lives? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, not bad. How many of you have smartphones? Okay, so that's a larger number. Actually, all of us who have smartphones and all of us who Google every day, we are actually using AI without realizing it, because Google uses AI to track and also to prompt you in terms of what you want to search for. So I think the future is not about should we use AI, should we understand what AI is about, should we even adopt it, but it's about how do we do that? What do we need to do, to get there? So now let me pivot to what we are doing in KBR. So KBR, being a traditional engineering solutions and technology solutions company, again, when we talk about the work we are doing on the sustainable technology solution side, we have started to shift towards applying artificial intelligence in coming up with a better operational excellence internally, processes that can be improved, that can be made smarter to drive predictability, to drive efficiency. So as a first step, trying to set our house in order, trying to become smarter. But as a second step, we are also doing things which will wow our clients. So let me take you through what we are doing. The first thing internally is we are looking at our proposals process. And typically in any organization, especially engineering services organization, people will understand this. You will have to spend hours on end to come up with a proposal, and that costs you money. And more often than not, you think that it will pay off because you will win that proposal. But the chances are that you may or may not win that. And so organizations often try to, most often than not, they end up reinventing the wheel every time, and they, spend the same time and effort to write the proposal for the same kind of services or solutions or products that they want to offer. So what we did was in KBR, we built an internal large language model, which we call as K-Brain, K-B-R-A-I-N, K-Brain. And what this has helped us do is to actually, we trained it on a number of proposals in a particular vertical. And what we did was then to, be able to produce a templated proposal, which arguably covers up to 50 to 60% of the standard content that you need to provide, when you put forth a proposal. That has helped us save up to 50% of the efforts that would go in typically in writing a proposal. So that's what we call as Project Mariana. So that's helped us internally improve what we do. Coming to engineering, so this is an area where typically, in the industry, if you see, about 3 or 4 years back, or maybe 5 years back when McKinsey did a study, they said engineering and construction ranked like, third from the bottom in terms of maturity or digital adoption, just above hunting and agriculture. That wasn't, at that time people were startled, but then we realized that this is an industry which has, continued to work the same way over the last 4, 5, 6 decades, thinking that, it's running a parallel track, whereas IT and software services is running, on the other side. But I think some organizations really woke up to that reality, and they started to automate, they started to get smarter in terms of, improving their processes. What we are doing now in KBR is obviously working with people to change their mindset to say that, hey, let's pull the data from the projects that we've delivered. Let's train the model on certain projects in terms of the particular, maybe a vertical or a particular type of solution. And let's see how quickly you can come up with the same deliverables, whether it's process sheets or our control sheets, whatever it may be. Can we map it out and see how does it benefit? And we were startled to see that it's able to reduce the effort. At the same time, it improves the accuracy, and you're able to also turn it around with much higher quality. So the naysayers are now slowly coming around to say that, yes, actually, you can't be in denial mode. AI is here, and it is changing the way we work. So I think from KBR standpoint, we are doing some amazing things, and I'm happy to say we have the Center of Excellence in Chennai right here with our team driving this change, building these solutions for the globe, for our global business. So I would link it with what are the opportunities we have in Tamil Nadu. I think we have the talent, we have the ecosystem, we have the infrastructure, we have the support of the government, the policies, and we have the right ecosystem players as well. When you talk about, leveraging AI, you can't forget the fact that the infrastructure plays a key role. You're talking about data centers, you're talking about other aspects that need to be lined up in the, the run-up to be able to actually make this investment work. And I note that there is a plan, there is a roadmap to rapidly increase our data center bandwidth from about 200 megawatt to about 500 plus megawatt by 2030. And already I think in Coimbatore, a 2 million square feet space has been, announced as an AI knowledge hub. So I think Tamil Nadu is doing all the right things to prepare itself for this, explosive growth. And we, in different industries should actually come forward and collaborate on one hand with the government and, seize these opportunities, make these investments, but also on the other hand, how can we cross-skill, train our people, and also partner with organizations or institutions like, IIT or Anna University, and empower our teams, empower the students with the right knowledge and curriculum so that, in the future, we are really well placed to, seize this opportunity towards moving towards this $500 billion, Indo-U.S. trade. So on that note, I'll just close my note. Thank you.
Thank you, Geeta. May I now invite Mr. Senapati to speak on AI in power sector. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So I am from L&T Digital Energy Solutions. So I'll definitely give some of the AI use cases here. I'll flash in the screen. Before that, I just want to highlight few areas where L&T is working. Today, L&T is in green hydrogen. I think past time we did a pilot and we are also manufacturer of green hydrogen electrolyzers. Right here in Chennai, we are into data center. We have built up a beautiful data center outskirts of Chennai. It's in Kanchipuram. So there's a big emerging area, data center and quantum technology. Also, we are into the semiconductor business. See, these are the emerging areas L&T is working. So coming to digital energy solutions, we work basically on the generation, transmission and distribution side. In all areas with the digital softwares. So if you'll see few of the recent developments which we are working or worked already, that is in one is, I can say, digital substation, which gives you power. What a digital substation do? It's very compact, it is very faster, and I can say lot of space, it is unmanned. So that sort of thing. Right in the Chennai, we have some distribution substations. These are all unmanned substations. So that reduces your time, effort and all. We are also into the virtual substations, like you don't really require a hardware relay. Everything is getting controlled from a software. So those sort of things we are working. And few other areas like I'll go in my slide, then I'll explain. I think that will be more appropriate. And before moving that, I can say few of the solutions like in renewable energy, transmission distribution, we are rightly developing right in the Chennai, in my campus in Manapakam, and we deploy in US and across the world. So that is the power we are bringing, that the technology we are bringing. The customer in USA, they have a lot of challenges, and with our solutions, we are replacing the existing solutions. That I can just. I'll go to the AI in renewable. So here if you'll see, all our solutions are AI driven. So if you'll see a renewable plant, it has to seamlessly deliver power to the grid. So quality power has to be achieved, to be delivered. So we have a solution like power plant controller. So it seamlessly deliver without a disruption. So generators sign a contract with the PPA with the users, and this AI helps us to achieve that. So you have seen some of the screens there. Nothing is coming. So the second screen, you can see the investor status, you can see the how much power is getting delivered, and all this data is captured from the field, and with AI it is getting displayed in your control center, and accordingly the operator and the senior management take a decision how much power has to be reduced or improve the generation. So there's the first two slides on that. Then if you'll see battery energy, so there is a backup system, so there also it works. Then if it is a both renewable generation and a battery backup together, then is a hybrid system, there also it comes. Then something new is coming like economic dispatch and optimization. You are generating excess power. In the real-time market, you want to sell it to get some additional revenue. That you can also connect to the exchange. Then the analytics in engine will tell you where you can, what is your generation, what is your price point in the market, whether you can sell it. So that sort of things, complex things is being done here with the AI. So these are the few tech stacks I just highlighting here. So our solutions are always software-driven solution, software-defined. And you don't have to really require a PLC, this, that, nothing. You take a simple compatible hardware server or PC, you load it and deploy it. So it is all a open system. So earlier it was all legacy, lot of hassles, this, that technology, this technology, nothing doing. Take the software, put it, run it, then it's yours. Nobody is required to even maintain that also. So that sort of technologies we are bringing to the industry, and that's where we are solving the industry problems. So this is one case. Here is one like, so we have a forecasting, this much generation will happen, this is the weather condition, all these things. So based on that, you plan your contingency. If there is a reduction in generation, then what we will do. But here something like, we are deploying some solutions like hyper local energy forecast. If some gigawatt plant is there, if all of a sudden there is a cloud cover, then your few gigawatts are out of the radar. So either you have to load set some of the consumers, or you have to do a contingency on that. So here it will capture the cloud in a real time. It will feed to the model, and it will analyze and it will give a prediction. This point of time, there will be a blackout, there will be a reduction. So the operators in the control center will be careful to take the contingency, increase some of the loads in the thermal plant, because this is a renewal basically, and load set some of the non-critical loads also to manage the grid, or else grid will collapse. So which I think India also has some issues sometime back in 2003. So to avoid those sort of things, this is a very powerful tool, and right we are deploying this in Saudi Arabia for their gigawatt plants. Then I'll go with some of the things in the distribution. This is basically the generation side. Distribution side, I did mention that field force automation. So we are any outage in your household, power supply is off, then you call your electricity department, then somebody comes, attends. Really you don't have to do anything with this tool. It attends where there is an outage, it gets escalated, it goes to the respective field force team, then they come and attend. Even you do not know, you don't have to even talk to anybody. So it is taken care. So these sort of things we started implementing right in India, in Mumbai, South Mumbai. I'm doing that particular tool. So that's the power we are bringing. So it is a multiple softwares, analytics, AI, all together it is integrating to that platform. Then digital substation, virtual substation I explained. Then the energy trading platforms, which I did mention in some of the renewables, and it is being done also. This is one of the use cases. So, like theft analytics is a peculiar thing. India, I think commercial losses are most of the cases I've seen more than 25% and more. So, a lot of theft is happening. US also that happens. It's not that US is not happening. So, I was told by some of the US utilities, they have a challenge. And even the EV trucks, they hook it in the roadside. So India, some of the things are happening. Then we built up a beautiful AI tool. So it tracks your particular consumer connected to the transformer to the feeder. So then all the anomalies are being captured. So which feeder, which transformer, and which consumer. What is their consumption pattern, whether there is a variation in the consumption pattern, is a seasonal, particular time of the day, so that sort of consumer pattern is being analyzed and is being done across India also now. So they're getting all smart meter data on that. We are building this application, and your divisional office or your particular area office, they will be able to analyze these things and they will alert. So this is what we are bringing, a powerful AI to manage the theft and reduce the electricity commercial losses. This is one of the USAID forums we presented, and it is getting deployed. Some of the pilots are being done in India. This is all part of that. This is load forecasting. So this is a beautiful thing. Today, your summer comes and particular time, your load grows 20%. Then you have a problem to manage the generation and all. So these tools manages the load, manages the generation. So these are the application with the AI we do. These are the things like, this is one of its kind. We have recently built this solution. So basically, these big transmission lines, they bring power from the generation plant to our household. So and the lines has to be safer, or else if it is a break, then a huge damage or a particular area or particular region can be out of power. So maintaining the health of the transmission line is important. So we have built a solution on the AI, like drone. Earlier it is being managed manually. Quality is a problem. It takes a lot of time. So we have built, drone will go. It's automatic drone. It's all programmed. It will go down the transmission line. It has a camera. It will capture all the angles, the conductors, the transmission structure, everything. And the real time, it has a database. It will match with that database, the model trend already loaded in that drone. And the anomalies, the differences is fed to the module. Then it gives to the operator, there is a problem in this thing, and they go and manage. So we have this sort of arrangement, and we have presented here these two Government of India, and we are deploying these things, some of their projects in Power Grid. This is a new area, EV charging truck. Some of the areas like, you don't have EV charging station nearby, then how you'll do? The truck will come with different charging options, then you can charge. Even today, we are talking about, you have a wireless charging highway. So you go, while you're driving, your car's getting with the induction getting charged. So Norway started doing that, UK has started doing that, maybe some pilots are being done there. Then these are virtual platforms. I'll take 1 minute. So all your DIAs today we are small scale. Our rooftop solars are getting developed. So there is offices or the houses. So you have excess power. What do you do? In this platform, you go and you can sell the power also. So these are the platforms we are bringing, and it is already being done some parts in UP, and we are bringing that and starting to deploy some of the areas. So P2P trading, B2G integration, these are the applications of comes with that thing. These are the basically some of the areas where the digital worker, remote operation you can do, or remote maintenance you can do. Some of the industries you can look at these things. So that helps us. This comes with our AI tool and all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Senapati. Thank you very much. Mr. Malik?
Vanakkam everyone. Very nice day in Chennai, and thanks IACC for having me here. What we specialize in is AI-focused foundational models for cancer screening and cancer diagnostics. So it's very, very different from all my predecessors. And one of the reasons or the ideals of building a startup in this space has been, how do we get technology or AI in the hands of people who need them the most? So these are people who would be rural citizens of India, and how do we collaborate better with US companies so that we can get the best of the technology and have really, really good implementation and applications which are India focused. So starting with that, cancer diagnostics is something which is broken across the world. Early stage screening and diagnostics is a very, very critical part of how a patient is treated. And overall, the lack of histopathologists across the globe is overwhelming. And overall, digital pathology is something that we found, if assisted with AI, we can increase the capacity and save millions of lives every year. So coming to our solution, we actually thought that, okay, what do we have in India that nobody else has in the world? We have brilliant, brilliant physicians. We have extremely intelligent software professionals and AI engineers. And thirdly, we have patients and hospitals with years and years of longitudinal data on cancer. So we have looked at that. We have tried to digitize a lot of the data to build up solutions which would be applicable to India, as well as something which would be so robust that we can take it across the world for screening and diagnostics. Generally, our business model focuses on two parts. One is screening. So screening would be for tuberculosis, NTDs, cervical cancer. Our current product on cervical cancer is backed by the Indian Council for Medical Research. It's currently undergoing phase 2 of clinical trials. This is the first of its kind, where we are looking at artificial intelligence to replicate what a histopathologist would do with a glass slide. And the AI would be able to negate 90% of the cases which are actually true negative or don't need a second level of review. What we kind of enable is, like, as I said, an edge-based hardware solution which is able to digitize, scan, screen, and again, integrate with PMJY and the health insurance programs for enabling diagnostics and screenings at the last mile. So on the other side, in terms of digital histopathology, this is something which is very close to my heart as well. And we would be able to look at breast cancer, oral cancer, colorectal cancer, with the help of AI, take subspecialized histopathology to anyone in India. This slide particularly reminds me of something from a Harry Potter reference. So in one of the scenes, Professor Dumbledore, he says that help is provided to everyone who asks for it at Hogwarts. I look at America as one of those places which probably Rowling tried to describe. So US is like Hogwarts. You ask for help and you will get it. So that is one of the major reasons I think IACC is doing brilliant work in that space in terms of facilitating and helping startups like us to use some of the technology that is available in the US. So we are one of the Google ecosystem partners. Google provided us to start with $25,000 of cloud credits to start up with. We are training our models on Google Cloud. We are an NVIDIA Inception partner. We were one of the top 3 in APAC, representing India at NVIDIA GTC last month. And Microsoft Research, we have been collaborating with for using some of their models. So the interesting thing about the US models or the Western models is that they are trained on data which is very, very US focused. So one of the reasons why our models work better is because we train them on South Asian data, which is very, very widely available, and make it much more robust as compared to what you would have in the West. Thirdly, we are very grateful to the Indian Council of Medical Research. They have been backing us up for taking AI as a medical device. So this is basically software as a medical device, which would be equivalent to a human histopathologist. So that is one of the really interesting things why we feel that the scientists and researchers in this country would hold the key for driving India forward in the next 10 to 15 years. At Vyuha, this is our first POC. We have created an end-to-end cervical cancer screening system. This has been categorized by the Government of India as a national priority project as well. We are able to bring down the cost of cervical cancer screening by almost 60% using AI. Once validated, we would be able to bring it down further. We provide an end-to-end screening process with AI integration. So this is kind of an edge-based system that we use. The picture that you see on the left, it's basically created by this particular device that we have developed completely in-house with our team, a team of 3, I would say, that captures images at 100 nanometer level, stitches it all up using AI, and this is done without any cloud or internet support. So this is an AI which is in your pocket. This is a small Jetson Orin that we use for capturing the images as well as processing it on the device itself. We are looking again to create a more dark lab interface. Team again me, Kimo, Branjini, Madhu, and Renu. So we have been working together for developing some of these products. We have been featured with MIT Solve. We were one of the top 10 selected for Slush in Helsinki last year by the Department of Industrial Promotion. We have really good partners in the US who have been helping us with their technology and the platforms. And so thanks everyone. And also very thankful to the government of Tamil Nadu, UCPTR on the left, for providing us with a lot of support in terms of the Mighty Innovation Award as well. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's very nice to see a young entrepreneur doing so much work. Thanks a lot. It's been a wonderful session. And as you have noticed, we chose these 3 topics because they are in the process of convergence. Now you need to enhance AI capability, you need semiconductors. Then, quantum and AI, they are going to join up to tremendously increase the capability of computers and communication. So all these 3 areas are really converging. And India has to invest heavily in those areas. Probably China is investing maybe 50 times what we are investing today. And they are racing ahead. So, it's time for us to work on this. I'm going to ask, I have a huge list of questions. I'm not going to cover that, but just ask a couple of questions of each panel members, and then I'll open it for, the audience. Dr. Prabhakar, sir, in terms of quantum, they say that quantum and AI together will become some point of time uncontrollable. If you listen to Dr. Hariri, right? So he's scaring the hell out of anybody who listens to him in terms of the future. So what is your opinion on that?
There is always a danger that technology can get misused, but I don't think we are there yet. And Hollywood comes real maybe about 25 years later. So judgment day is not on us yet. I think if we were to use technology and allow the convergence of quantum AI along with information and communication technologies, ICT, you would find that we would lead better lives, have a more equitable society. And if we are able to achieve those goals, I don't think anybody will take over, let alone machines. So I think we're okay on that.
One more question. See, we talked about investments, and I think Ravi and I, we kind of a little bit involved in semicon, investment by the government, but we think it's too little. And in your area, as I said, China is investing heavily. And do you think, what is it that the government should do to ensure that we are at least catching up with the rest of the world in terms of this technology in quantum?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure it is correct to say what should the government do. I think it's more of a what should we all do.
Okay.
The government represents our desires and aspirations. I think if we can encourage better participation from states in a national mission, that would be one thing, and that would be something that I would definitely encourage Tamil Nadu to look at. And then one would ask and say, can we get more industry? And I think that is where India lags other nations, where industrial R&D is not as high a percentage as it should be. The government has made policies. For example, CSR is one very good avenue where companies can invest in R&D. But we still, I think, need at least a 5x or 10x increase in those kind of investments before we can be competitive.
Thank you. Ravi, in terms of value addition, as I mentioned, in the cell phones we are very low, and we want to see whether from the beginning we can correct that in semicon. So what are your views on how that can be done given our present status of the industry and the kind of resources available?
So if let's take packaging, for example. One of the first things that can be done to add value locally is localize. Somebody said about substrate production, IC substrate production, as well as lead frame manufacturing, ceramic substrates, etc. That's very doable, and that can be something that can be done by MSMEs. Anybody under 500 crores, it should be possible to do it. To me, that's sort of critically important. I'm sure that technical JVs will be available from countries like Japan or Taiwan or even the U.S. So these are things that should be doable. I mean, I'm just giving you a simple example. Obviously, the fab, the Tata fab is the first one that is coming. So at least from one source, you can see localized chip production that would go in. And then, of course, you've got the materials aspect of it, be it chemistry, metallization chemistry, or whether it is adhesives or other materials that can be localized to produce these things locally. I mean, we are following a trajectory that is not unlike what China went through. We're just, a decade behind probably. But these things are very possible to localize, and that last bubble chart that I showed is real. And to be quite honest, the simple way of triangulating between smaller companies, larger companies, multinationals, domestic tech companies, major key universities, and government agencies, very doable. It's just a matter of coordinated effort to get the localization done. But the value addition, very much possible. It's already starting to happen. I believe that, and then you build on the. You don't have to start in a very sophisticated way, but you can become very sophisticated fairly quickly.
Thank you. Of course, one element there is the cost compared to what China does, I guess, but anyway.
I think, I'll just say that is a matter of time. There is something called staying power, and it has to be some combination of incentives, automation, the ability to utilize innovative ways to significantly reduce cost, and then also focus on particular end market segments, which can tolerate a delta. So I don't think that, I think you got to start somewhere, otherwise it's,
Thank you, Mr. Aditya. You said, in this industry you have to build trust and resilience. How do we do that?
Okay, I'll take a simple example. Now, while at PwC, when I also talk to a lot of companies that want to establish fabs, there's a whole conversation saying that these take a long amount of time. I need consistency in policy, I need consistency in infrastructure, I need consistency in talent, and they will only invest in states or in locations which are able to kind of consistently also give you that infrastructure for a very long period of time. And I think states or even center should actually convince investors to believe that this is a long-term story for them, because it shouldn't be like they come and invest and after 3 years the policy changes, the infrastructure changes, it becomes very difficult. So I think trust from that aspect becomes important in this regard per se.
Thank you. In fact, just give an example. Some time back we were in Singapore Semicon exhibition, and most of the overseas guys we met, they still don't believe that India will really deliver on Semicon. Though we feel while we are here, a lot of things are moving on the ground, they feel that you people have talked so much in the past, what is different now?
Very true.
I think that this
Agreed.
element has to really come in. One of the things you mentioned, for Indian companies, how do they plan to kind of use U.S. CHIPS Act to get some benefit out of it?
I gave you an example of the global foundries that it's set up in Kolkata. They've set up an R&D hub for doing R&D, and then that could further move into manufacturing chips there. So that's one example. And I think the ITSI, which is an element of the CHIPS Act with the Indian government, and I think that came because of this. Maybe that could be one example of how that's done.
Thank you. Geeta. In terms of AI, there's a lot of things being talked about in terms of loss of jobs, then young people will lose their thinking ability. Of course, with our digital phones, a smartphone itself, we say, I can never remember now a telephone number, including my wife's. It's a huge problem now. So is that going to kind of... That's the kind of feeling. Of course, AI is here to stay, no doubt. But then there is an apprehension that, it'll be a huge loss of jobs and, affecting thinking capability. Maybe your views on that.
Sure. I think this is oft asked question in multiple forums. My view is that the use of AI is intended to, make us more productive, take away the time that we use to do routine jobs, repetitive jobs, for most part, but also the kind of work today that it's taking, huge amount of effort. I think the intention is we use AI in a meaningful way where we can release that time for maybe higher value adding job or something which is more innovative. And in terms of it affecting our thinking capabilities, I think, it's about how we react to that or respond to that, because when you get a new technology, you can either use it and become completely lazy, or, you still have that hunger to keep learning. And this is where I always keep reiterating in a growth mindset, because technology keeps changing. Today we are talking about AI and Gen AI. Maybe in 5, 7, 8 years' time, it could be something else. So I think the key is for us to have a learner's mindset, be a lifelong learner, and then that will always make sure that, we stay relevant, regardless of what new technologies keep coming up and, kind of making our jobs maybe become simpler or, change the way we do our work. And I think that is a key skill for us: critical thinking, adaptability, learnability. I think those are going to be key skills for us moving forward.
Thank you. One more thing which generally people are talking about is huge power requirements for AI and data centers and stuff like that. So in India, how do you think our environment is going to manage that?
I think in the short term, we will see that as a real challenge. And I think for this to happen, one of the things we are seeing is the Indian government is extremely committed towards, progressing on its journey towards, carbon reduction, regardless of what, other countries are talking about, which are in different stages in terms of acceptance and, prioritization. I think you're right. I mean, with more data centers, there is obviously the threat of greater data consumption and energy usage. For us, I think we need to look at green hydrogen and look at low carbon, sources of energy. It's not an easy answer, because when you talk about hydrogen, they always say the levelized cost of hydrogen is a problem. You need to look at the electrolyzer, you need to look at the storage facility and all of that. So I think we have to come together as an entire ecosystem, supply chain partners and, engineering companies, government policymakers together to have a roadmap to it. One of the companies that I'm aware of is actually thinking the way we build our data centers. I mean, basically cooling the data centers. They're using smarter solutions. So actually they're reducing the carbon emission coming up from data centers. I think so that innovation is going to be a key factor, Mr. Ramchandran, in all of this, and we need to do this hand in hand, because the more you have quantum computers, supercomputing and all of that coming to play, computing power is going to increase. How do you balance that with the focus on sustainability? And that's going to be key. And I think it will take more than 2-3 industries to find a solution to that.
Thank you. Of course, EV adoption also adds to this power requirement anyway. Mr. Senapati, you said a lot of areas you are virtualizing, and you will reduce the hardware. So is it going to affect the hardware industry in a big way?
It's not really, because if you say power transmission distribution, the hardware use is very less. Okay, it's not really significant. So it's not really going to affect much as far as your server or semiconductor industry is concerned. But so it is not really making much difference, because the consumption is very less. But definitely there is some reduction, and the shift has to be towards that sort of application softwares, the virtual softwares. So if you'll see MNCs, we all, initially when this concept has come, so you can deploy your application sitting anywhere in the world. You need not to have a machine there and all. So the legacy companies, they are, okay, really will go into that, or will not, stay away. People stayed away. Or else their box business will come down. Yeah. But they also thought and came forward, no, if this is going to be that driver, then I'll be losing the bus. Okay. Sure. So it is just like that, but those people also come forward now and started doing that. So
Thank you. There's just one more question is, today, for example, I see the electrician, when you call Tamil Nadu Electricity Board, he comes and does some work, right? Today, millions of such people are the people who are at the moment supporting the electrical systems in India, right? Now you're talking about AI, all this coming. How easy and what kind of time frame where these guys can be sensitized to these new technologies, by which these guys will be able to support the homes better?
yeah, so people Indians are always smart, I always say. So immediately they adopt the technology quickly. Okay, these guys are already adopted. It's not that wherever it is deployed. Okay, so it's nothing new. Good thing is that, see, somebody, if there is outage, somebody calls to your electricity office, then somebody write the logbook, then somebody goes. So instead that, the data is coming instantly to the with AI coming to the control center, the service center. The rest things going, dispatching the thing and through their app, and somebody is going and attending. So that process is there. And today, if once you attended, you have to raise a call and somebody will accept. Yes, the problem is attended. So that sort of mechanism is being deployed. And same guys are adopting that. You have a phone, you have an app, and call is lost, they are seeing, oh, there is a problem, they start getting. So they are much, they have adopted much faster. And definitely when we will, that implementation, I think drive has to be there from the utilities and all to deploy those things in the faster rate. Then we will get the benefit. Only few sections we are doing, is being done, and the benefit is extended to that only.
Thank you, sir. Dhitiman, do you also offer the hardware? You said you developed the hardware. Do you also offer it, or who makes the hardware?
So we have built the hardware in-house in collaboration with IIT Hyderabad, actually.
Okay.
So we have been working with Professor Renujan there for building some parts of the hardware. Now the next part that comes in is optimizing the hardware. Can we replace some of these really, really expensive parts from Thor Labs with our own fabrication and manufacturing to scale it up? Otherwise, if I'm selling, say, a 40 lakh device, which is imported at the same rate, you can't put that hardware in the Indian market. Second thing that at least I've learned from experience is, can you build good enough service on top of the hardware to make the business sustainable? Despite the social impact causes, whatever it is, right? We need to have like a sustainable business model to even build up and scale the product. So the main idea was to build a service around the product and then scale the product as the services become more sustainable.
Thank you. One last question is, so you're building models for AI models, but healthcare information is confidential, right?
Yes.
How would you use that information?
So that's interesting question. So when we started off, when we started off with the modeling, we realized that patient consent, hospital consent, and ethical committee approvals are three main pillars whenever we are going on and building any AI algorithm for patient data. So even when we are borrowing some of the data models from Microsoft Research, for example, and we are feeding it with the Indian data, there needs to be like a particular regulatory approval based system, especially filing for clinical trials, which are quite heavily regulated, a lot of paperwork involved, but it's not impossible to do. So there are a lot of ethical challenges that come up, especially, for example, like I'll give you an example. Because we are looking at cancer data retrospectively, right? What happens if a positive case comes on the AI, whereas the pathologist or histopathologist had declared that particular case as a negative, right? And we have had cases, especially in the prospective data, where we have had pathologists miss out on the cases, where the AI captures it brilliantly. So obviously there are certain challenges which comes along with the data that we have to tackle based on our experience as well.
Thank you. I'll just open it for questions from the audience. Please identify yourself and please make a very short question and please don't make statements, please. That's a request. Thank you.
That's an intro, bro. So I have a question to Professor Anil Prabhakar. See, you are talking about quantum computing, right? So there are various use cases we can use it. But if I have a choice to make between quantum computing and conventional computing, so what are the use cases I should consider? Is it based on the performance criteria or is it based on the complexity of the problem?
Both actually. So you're not going to use a quantum computer to do things that you can do today on a classical computer. So you have to pick the right problem. And what a quantum computer does is it allows you to sample what we technically would call the tails of a distribution. So most classical computing, when it tries to analyze data, it is missing out the outliers. And quantum computers are better at catching those outliers. Right? So in fact, a lot of what AI is trying to do is also do what we call anomaly detection. Right? So those outliers, or colloquially speaking, needle in a haystack type of events. And we do that whether it is trying to find people who are attacking our digital infrastructure, trying to steal data, whether the government wants to look at leakage in direct benefit transfers, or whether we're looking at the cancer cells in a vast sea of data, right? These are all hard problems and which conventional computing struggles to tackle. What you'll see happening is a convergence where there is a hybrid platform where you have conventional and quantum working together, each leveraging off its own strengths. So very soon it will reach a point where you will not know. You will just give it a problem and it will give you an answer. You won't know whether it is quantum or not at the back.
Thank you.
I'm Santosh from KBR. I could gather that we are yet to see the growth in the semiconductor industry. I would like to know what are the top 1 or 2 areas which we need to focus so that we can capture this energy. I mean, I do not know anybody can answer that.
Okay, so now what we're seeing right now is just small spurts and packages of growth that's happening. So we're slowly moving into assembly. Then there's OSAT, but there's high end of there's also some areas within electronics and semiconductors, like there's power electronics, there's auto electronics. There's also subsectors of growth that can also happen.
Thank you.
Is a major area, I would say, that is, I would call it low-hanging fruit, because it's an area where the big guys may not be, really interested in going forward, but it is one of the most critical aspects of the ecosystem. If you saw the flow of information, the last part of that is actually sensing, and then feeding that information back for actuation. Very critical aspect. I mean, your mobile phone has huge number of sensors in it. I mean, just as an example. But anything that you look at, if you're going to form a closed loop, you are going to need a sensor. So to me, that's a good area to look at in India in particular. Power electronics, I agree 100% that it's a great area to look at because the complexity is less than, let's say, CMOS devices, and you have less of a barrier to set that up domestically, to start with packaging and then go back into even fab for that matter. If you look at all the projects that are coming up, quite a few of them are focused right now on power. And just a couple of this will evolve in a phase-wise manner.
PCBs also considering that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that is a it's a huge gap. Somebody mentioned earlier that you said. So actually, today only 10% of the domestic requirement for printed circuit boards is manufactured in India. 90% is imported. And the ECMS, the new incentive program that the government has set up, is looking to change that, and I can already see that there's significant traction in that direction. But localization of PCB production is perhaps one of the most important things right now, because it's a critical element of the electronics manufacturing ecosystem. And any electronic system that you see, PCB is an absolute basic requirement of it. So clearly, yes, substrates, PCBs, all of that. So these are some of the key areas to focus on. If you're talking about engineering aspect, since I would say controlled environment buildings are going to be critical, otherwise known as clean rooms, but basically you're looking at controlled environments, whether it be for development, whether it be for manufacturing. It's going to be pretty important, and it's going to grow over time.
Thank you. There's one last question, please.
Hello, my name is Kadirvel. I work for KBR. So my question is to Professor Prabhakar. So how can this quantum computing will be helpful in engineering design of oil and gas sector? Have you identified, or is there an industry that is working to improve the engineering design better and better in oil and gas?
Actually, there is a company that has been using a lot of fluid mechanics and trying to improve the fluid mechanics using quantum algorithms. So I think the oil and gas sector relies very heavily on simulations of a lot of these fluids, and that is one area where I can imagine that you will see immediate advantage. But these sensors are all over the place in the oil and gas industry. If you talk to any of the companies who work in there, whether it's Honeywell or Schlumberger or whatever, they're using sensors everywhere, and it comes back to this idea that they're all collecting large amounts of data. So if you're looking at just analyzing tons of data, quantum computers are supposed to help us do that also. There's a third area which is very interesting, which I've not spoken about, is quantum sensing. And the magnetometers that are coming out that use quantum sensors are about 1,000 times more sensitive than the traditional magnetometers that they've conventionally been using. So if you look at the people who are investing in that technology, they are the oil and gas sector, right? I think it's Honeywell itself and Honeywell spun off a quantum computer called Quantinuum. They've spun off their own startup, and they are also investing in this quantum sensors. So you'll see immediately that you will not notice, and I think that is when a technology is successful. You will not notice when you start using it. It will just be there. And quantum sensing is something that will probably come very early on. It is supposed to replace MRI machines. It's supposed to replace a lot of the sensors in the oil and gas industry.
Thank you, sir. And one more question to Mr. Senapati, that though we have, thanks for having an introduction on digital power management. Is there a way that that copper loss is reducible through this digital power management? I squared R loss.
Yeah, you can. Today you can feed all those transformer data into the algorithm. Okay, you can monitor that, manage that, and you can put optimized condition. Then you can train the whole model in that algorithm, and then you should able to manage. Basically, you should put what is the optimum loading you are doing, what are the ambient conditions. So those parameters and the transformer performance parameters. So with that, we should be able to monitor, train the model, and see where you can land. So basically, that will give you a data, what is the optimum loading conditions in a particular ambient temperature, so that you reduce, minimize your losses. So I think that with that, AI can help to minimize the losses.
Thank you. I think it's time to close the session because we don't want to hold you from your lunch. We're already a bit late. Thank you, and I'm grateful to all the speakers for an excellent talk. This subject probably can be a subject for a 5-day seminar, but anyway, they gave a good insight, and thank you very much for all the speakers.
I request our committee member, Mr. R. Krishna Kumar, to present a mementos to all our speakers for the session.